Illusions are one way you have to bend your own mind. You may not think in illusions. You may not be very familiar with the Bible, mythology, King Arthur, fairy tales, or with historical events. But these are areas considered to be common knowledge, and as such, are options for poets and authors when they're trying to convey a lot of ideas, emotions, and facets in a really small amount of time. Personal example, a poem I wrote in graduate school titled My Mother's Kitchen, After the Dance, Before the Kiss. And let me see if I can get it on the screen here. My mother's kitchen, after the dance, before the kiss. What needs saying? That the crisping apple pie, gasping for air in a stifling oven, will soon be done? That the waxy green in a white ceramic bowl faces the destiny of a sharpened knife? That trees with late autumn offerings wait for color stripping and the loss of last-born fruits? Only that the boy who accepts a slice wants more than the girl intends. So here's what I'm trying to do in that poem. I was trying to recreate this moment from my adolescence, where I went to a dance with a guy and we had fun, but I wasn't looking for a boyfriend or anything serious. So we end up back at my parents' house late. Everyone's sleeping, and my mom has left this apple pie out on the table. I ask if he wants some pie. He says yes, so I cut us each a slice. We're eating, and then I look over, and there's this intense look in his eyes that makes me feel really powerful and really freaked out all at once. It's this awkwardness for a teenage girl when a guy spent $50 on dance tickets and dinner for you, but you don't really want him for a boyfriend. And so in trying to find a way to say thank you for the dancing and the dinner, you end up making him think that you like him that way, when that wasn't what you meant at all. But anyway, I was thinking back to that night, and all I could think about was how appropriate it was that we were eating apple pie, because apples go back to Adam and Eve. Not literally, the Bible doesn't say anything about apples, but our cultural understanding of apples is tied up in the idea of original sin. And more importantly to my story, the idea that it's the woman who tempts the man and leads him into sin.
You want some apple juice?
Isn't that apple juice off limits?
Sort of.
I'm pretty sure that's a no-go for us. I can just get some bottled water.
But apple juice is better. Don't you want some apple juice? I think your husband would like some.
I wonder where Eve is.
Come on.
Well, I don't know.
Come on.
Okay. Hey, I got juice!
Cool. Uh-oh. It was her.
Adam and Eve brand apple juice. One taste is never enough.
So suddenly I found myself focused in the poem not on me and my role in my own story, but on the apple that first went into the pie and its story, the story of the apple. And I started to realize that the story of an apple being made into a pie is really all about loss. The apple gets picked, and then there's all the connotations of autumn as the beginning of the end, that moment before the death and cold of winter. Then it gets picked and is sitting pretty in a bowl, but its destiny before long is to be peeled and cored, and finally, adding insult to injury, stuffed in an oven and baked. The paradox of it all is great, as American as apple pie, but then at the same time born of original sin and temptation with the apple itself. And that seemed like a fitting metaphor for the state of the teenage girl, me as a teenage girl, and then more broadly speaking, because there's a sweetness and an innocence tied up in that age. And then at the same time, there's this undercurrent of power and sexuality and the power of seduction. And a lot of times, the power that the girl herself doesn't really understand and isn't necessarily trying to use. So how do I say all of that in a poem? Allusions. And then I use questions to try to get across that sense of uncertainty about being a teenager and the sense of just not knowing. And to get across this idea of trying to decide what about the story needs to be told, which was like the process I went through in writing the poem before I wrote the poem. So here's the poem again, after the allusions are explained. My mother's kitchen, after the dance, before the kiss. What needs saying? that the crisping apple pie, gasping for air in a stifling oven, will soon be done, that the waxy green in a white ceramic bowl faces the destiny of a sharpened knife, that trees with late autumn offerings wait for color stripping and the loss of last-born fruits, only that the boy who accepts a slice wants more than the girl intends. I hope you enjoyed this poetry moment with Mrs. Villegas. Here's to making your own illusions, and I'll see you in class. Thanks.